Hey. Steve, I think for this one we don't want to bother. Neto manyo msajja izo kubanga inamu karaga.
Aizo kanyugao.
Ozo kukanga muko yo.
Freestyle.
No.
In our field. Mubamu abantu nga tomanyanga nga ka dream kaizo kuba kali ka kuyimba naye kale
ako kaliwo twayitayo era ogende mwiri nga abasomere bakubuulira naye eyo chapter twagigala
nebisuulo ne babisuula
tubisuula mu nyanja.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest in the building.
Let's go.
Nathan Magoola. He might be known right now for prestige, but for some of us who have been around for a while, I think it's right to say that wateke tafari dene nnyo ku music industry.
Okay.
People might not know, but you know, there's like there are people that played big roles. Omuzungu agamba inadvertently nti kale nga si kyaliko nnyombo naye nga I think the days of Music Uganda were very pivotal moments for the industry to have presence online, and for our people in the diaspora to be able to, you know, to experience a bit of home. Nathan Magoola, we are happy to have you here. He's
Glad to be here.
A producer.
Agana tunyonyola.
Nayenga tusanyisa kulaba. Thank you for being here and making the time.
You're welcome.
We know you're a busy guy. Chitwala nti kati ye Ugandan Tyler Perry, mu kintu ekyo.
Thank you for squeezing us into your busy schedule.
Yeah.
No, I just needed to be here because Hosea told me maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
Your fellow age mate, someone.
Yeah, yeah, he did. And then he kind of put it on ice. Like, this guy called me, but now he forgot about me. So, you know, every time I'm kind of waiting for a phone call. Yeah, but eventually he came through. I was like, okay, come through on such and such a day.
We've been reminding him. Just the people that don't, the few people that don't know who you are. In a few words, how would you explain yourself, Gwani or Libichi?
Who is Nathan Magoola?
My name is Nathan Magoola, and of course, there are lots of things that I've dabbled into, but for the most part, I just like to refer to myself as a producer. So, I mean, I've directed, I've written. For a couple of years, I was making my living writing commercials, but yeah, I just say I'm a producer.
Oh yeah, you were in an agency. What agency was that?
First I was working at ZK, so I wrote a bunch of commercials for Zain before it became Airtel. Yeah,
Change Zain is Airtel now.
Yeah, but when it was still Zain, so I wrote a bunch of those commercials that you saw have Katol Wama in them. Then ZK closed, and I think I worked for maybe like a week at a little agency called forget the name of it. It used to be for that
must have been
very small.
No. Actually, it's funny because a lot of the creatives passed through that agency. And I remember watching the episode that had Emron and was talking about starting there. I forgot the name. Ignition. Yeah.
Okay.
I was there like for a week. And then I went to work at TBWA Limelight. And at that point, they had Stanbic. Because I remember.
Were you a copywriter as well?
Yeah, I'm a copywriter because I remember coming to record some Stanbic ads at the Mugumbya location when you guys were still at Mugumbya. But then I did a lot of like UTL, Sadolin. And then at that point, I set my mind to, doing what I'm doing right now. So it's not like, I just started doing this now. It's something that I'd been working on in the background for a very long time. But then I knew that I needed a lot of training. So I kind of started like going to Europe to do training. But then the bosses at TBWA were like, okay, are you here or yeah? So eventually I actually got fired from there.
Oh,
So
so the film passion was always there.
Yeah,
even
it was
when
always.
you were doing your
Yeah, because I mean,
hustle.
it's like, for a very long time, nobody could make a living doing film and everything. So you'd go like work in advertising, get paid your monthly salary, then you get some of that money. It helps you.
And waste it on the passion.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning. I know now people know you, they see Prestige, but they don't know where the whole thing started. We shall get to St. Paul's College, but let's first go back here in Uganda. Where did you study?
Also, I was born and raised in Jinja. So I went.
I love that city.
Yeah. So I went to Victoriana Primary School for primary. And then I went to Namirango College for my O-level. And I was very stubborn in school, but I was very lucky that I was never suspended. So I had this group of friends. So for them, many times they got caught. They catch them and then they're very sure I was part of it, but they didn't catch me. So.
No evidence.
Yeah. So I was lucky in that aspect. Then, of course, when I did my O-level, the deputy at that point, I think the headmaster was pursuing a master's degree, so he wasn't really in school all the time. So there was a deputy headmaster who was running the school at that time. So he was like, Nathan, I don't care if you are the best student in the country. You're not coming back here. Tugenda kutunda ewamwe. So they sent me to Mwiri, Usoga College Mwiri. Yeah, so from Usoga College Mwiri, I went to do quantitative economics at Makerere University. So I was there.
Is that what you wanted to do, or they forced you to do it?
No, it was kind of, so the most part is like your parents decide things for you because they know once you study this, you're not going to be jobless.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But then I was a student who was like very balanced, so I could do the arts
And the
just as well as the
sciences.
sciences. So I went to do quantitative economics. I mean, at that time it was kind of new, and whoever graduates, finds a job. But then I did it up to third year, first semester, and then I left and I went to the United States.
How long was it?
About 3 years.
Okay, so you in the final year you left it.
Yeah.
How do you go to the States? Why?
And why, yeah.
So for a very long time, I'd been a member of the YMCA because my mother was on the board of the Ginger branch. So YMCA used to have like these summer programs where they have, of course now the thing is that like in the United States, the kids there, they have what they call summer camps. So when those kids go into the summer camps, they are kind of just trying to get different experiences. So what they do, what the YMCA used to do was that it used to bring in people from all over the world, right, to go and work in those summer camps as camp counselors. But now, the main thing that they take you to do, like you can be like, okay, I know how to dance Maganda. Yeah, I know how to do this. So it's like, okay, you go and teach those kids to do that. Yeah, so that's what I went to do. So
Sort of like ethno, what they do in Europe. Yeah, I have friends of mine that the Abrahams used to go to Europe, and they had this camp thing they do where you come with whatever instrument or whatever it is, and then they'll say there's this person teaching, and then people will come to you, teach them adungu or whatever instrument it is.
yeah, but I mean, it wasn't just about teaching the music or whatever. It's just about anything, even if you don't know anything. But being a Ugandan or being from wherever you are from the world,
tell us about
you
yourself.
have experiences that these people
Don't have.
that don't know. So
I understand.
that is good to kind of like pass it on. Yes, so that's what I went to do. But then I realized that I could transfer my credits for whatever I'd studied here. Said that I just continue on in school there.
So you went ahead and did
Yeah,
something
and then I did computer programming, right? But then there was a day I signed up for a class called game programming, and there was 3 of us in the class. So 2 white boys who were geeks, and then myself. Because you're at home, you play video games, very pleasant thing to do. But creating those video games, it's kind of like music. You know, you love the music, you love to sing and everything, but then if they put you in a music class, it's not as fun as one.
All of a sudden it becomes a science.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, I think that was my first time to use a Mac. Yeah, but then...
Which year are we talking about?
This must have been... So I went in 2001. Yes, so now I've been in class because I started school in August of 2001. But now this, I think, the next semester. So I'm doing this class. And then I realize, first of all, I'm having challenges with the Mac, right? And then these 2 guys, my classmates, are so passionate about the class. They know everything. I'm green. I'm like, okay, maybe this is not the thing for me. But then also, I had gotten to this place where, okay, right now I was on my own. I was working, paying my own tuition. So I was like, okay, right now I think I've gotten to a point whereby I can determine my destiny. So these all quantitative economics, computer science, whatever. Basically, this formal employment is not my thing. So I think I'm somebody who's destined for things on the creative side. So then I quit that, and then I just started writing commercials. At some point, I was staying in Minnesota, which is super cold. You've been there, you know. So I got to a point whereby I was like, okay, now I think I need to go to film school. But it's funny because I wanted to go to film school because at that point in my life, I was into music videos. So I wanted to do music videos. So I moved to Los Angeles, and then I find that the school is $50,000 a year, right? As opposed to $4,000 that I was paying. But then it's all day. So from 8 to 8.
Yeah.
So
no working.
Yeah, that option is not there for me. So okay, now that's the end of that. So I was there from 2003 to 2006, but then the cost of living was very high. Okay, this is not working out. Let me go back to
Minnesota. Because I think I met you in 2007.
Yeah, so now I'd just gone back. So it just so happened that, when I went back to Minnesota, now so every time you move from one place to another, you're kind of starting all over.
You go back to zero.
Yeah, so now I'm starting all over, so I'm looking for accommodation. So they tell me, this other Ugandan guy, he came here to study advertising. He's looking for what? For a housemate. I'm like, okay, fine. Send me up. And so I go and I start living with Idris Kamuli. I don't know, mad advertising.
Wow. Interesting, okay.
Yeah, so it was Idris, so I was like, man, me, I work in commercials, and I think,
was this before he set up MAD?
Because now, before he was working at such and such, so then he goes for further studies.
Oh, okay.
So now that period when he's gone for further studies is when I meet him.
Okay.
So he's the one who introduced me to the whole advertising thing. I was like, okay, I think you know how to write, you know a lot of things about pop culture and everything, and I think this is something you can do. Yeah, so that's how I got it.
You were in your early 20s.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is because for many creatives, or in our society here in Uganda, most people end up jumping into what they want to do much later than some of those first world countries. By the time someone is 18, 19, they already know they're going to be a soccer player or a programmer or whatever. But things are changing for the better here. I see kids these days jumping onto the things they want much earlier. But they say 10, 15 years ago, people would end up saying, okay, I want to be a musician when you're 30 and above. But before that, we all were looking at being an engineer or a doctor or something like that.
No, it was funny because there was a point where I was looking for a web programmer, and then you'd go to freelance sites some of those sites where like freelancers get gigs, and then you'd find that there are 16-year-old kids there who are doing amazing stuff.
Oh my God.
But he's not doing that because he wants to live off that. He just wants money to buy the latest game. But then the kind of work, because that experience kind of made me demystify things to do with the web. Because you'd read in the news, in the newspaper, maybe a certain ministry needed a website and they've paid 200 million. And I was like, okay, there's a kid here going to pay him $50, $60 and he's going to do the same exact thing. Right?
Yeah.
Then there was also like a website for, I don't remember what the piece of software was. It was a little piece of software. It was kind of like Adobe After Effects, but much simpler.
Flash?
No, it wasn't Flash. I forget what the name. But then it had like a community around it. But then it would help with things like green screen, whatever. Basically doing like what? Digital effects. And then you'd go on there and you'd find like short films that the kids had made. Kids in high school. But they have these digital effects that are basically like pretty much like Hollywood standard. But then this kid is just doing that for what? Like, for fun.
Yeah. It's like how they tell us children in China make watches and phones.
They can make microphones. They can in their free time.
How do we get to that point? Because at that age here in Uganda, you have 22 subjects that you're studying. Like, how do we change? I don't even know, but I guess that's a subject.
I think the thing is that even these kids have, the subjects they do in school. But I think the difference is that the access to some of these things that are now for me, I first used a computer in my, I think Essex VAC. My mother, when I was in VAC, my mother paid for me to go and learn, Windows, Microsoft Word, right? And then, I'm at university and that's when I'm trying to, touch a computer, right? But then you find these kids, a computer is like a normal thing.
Yeah.
Like, how you expect every house to have.
Actually, it's a necessity. It has to be.
Yeah. So like, how you expect every house to have like maybe a radio or like, a TV.
Yeah.
Every house has a computer. So this
Every
kid
child has.
Yeah. So they tinker with things. So I think it's about that, we don't have access to, some of the things.
I understand that.
Okay, so you move back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
You link up with Idris.
So first, when you're here, it's everyone's dream. I want to go to the United States and everything. So you have whatever you have in your mind. You feel like, you're just going to be walking on the streets and you'll pick up dollars and everything. But then here, I find myself, I'm spending most of my time working. But then because you spend a lot of time working, you really don't have much time for leisure, right? So that's why you'd find that we call people in Kampala and we don't want to get off the phone because it's super lonely. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is not the life because I'm spending all my time working and then supporting people over here.
Back home,
And then, so I was like, okay, this is not for me. Maybe I need to go back. But then, every time you tell people that, I'm trying to go back. It's like, no, you're making a very huge
Big
mistake or whatever. So I was like, okay, I made up my mind. I'm going, so let me just keep quiet about it. When my time comes, I'll just get on a plane and I come. And that's what I did.
What was your status there? Were you a citizen then?
No, I wasn't a citizen, but then because I had been in school, so I was like,
Okay. So you made the decision, you came back.
Yeah.
Hold on, before you came back, first tell us about your gig. I was reading about your profile. The gig you did at St. Paul's College.
Sure. So what happened was that, so you know how you have, say, DSTV? So now DSTV, for Uganda, it has one national license. But over there, it doesn't have a national license. They kind of have, so you'd have, say, like in Ntinda. They need to get a license for Ntinda. So then Ntinda would be like, okay, for us to give you this license, we have a community TV station. So for us to give you this license, you kind of have to remit some of your gross revenue or your profits to this community TV station. So the TV station is for the community. So everybody in the community, you go there and you use the equipment to create programs that they put
content.
They put on air. But then it has to be content that's not commercial. So, but also to use the equipment they kind of have to teach you. So when they know that I've taught you, they certify you that, okay, now we've taught you camera work, you can use the camera. So I went and I did that because I found out about that because it was on my way to school. The TV station was on my way to school. So sometimes because where I used to live, it was kind of out of town. So they don't have, say, regular bus service. So you know that from there to get into the city center, the bus goes by what? Once an hour. So for you to be able to get to school on time, you have to leave much earlier. So you leave much earlier and you find you have like maybe an hour or two to kill before your classes start. So that's where I used to go.
Pass by the TV.
Yeah. So I found there was a lady there. She liked me very much. So she was like, okay, you're supposed to be a volunteer here, but I'm going to start paying you. So she used to cover. So Minneapolis has a very huge Somali community. I think like all the Somalis, the refugees from here, once they go to the United States, they kind of just dump them there. And then afterwards, everybody does what? Goes wherever they need to go. But then the problem with these people is that in their country, I think they study in their own language, so they don't know English. So you'd find that the Somali community has lots of problems, which wouldn't be a problem.
If they could communicate in
Yeah,
English.
but then it's like, they don't know how to go to the, hospital when they are sick or whatever. So actually it's funny that, you know how you have like instructions about everything. So you find that maybe on the bus, the instructions in English, but then there's also like a very huge community that speaks Spanish. So you find it's English and then Spanish.
Yeah.
But then in Minneapolis, English, Spanish, and Somali. Yeah, so that lady used to produce a certain show about problems of the Somalis. So then she hired me as what? Her cameraman. I mean, every time would go, she would give me like, $100. So this one time, we were supposed to do something. I think it was at 11. And then I had a class at 8 to 9. So I finished my class, and then there used to be like a TV room at school. So I go into the TV room. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to wait until, because I had actually told her to come and pass by school and pick me and we go. So I set my alarm, but it's winter. It's very cold. So you have like 4 or 5 layers of clothing.
Yeah.
I put the phone inside. Then watching TV, I fell asleep.
Yeah.
So the chick calls, she calls.
Oh my God.
I wake up at midday. And there's like, a dozen missed calls. So like, she fired me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I guess that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. That's when you knew you were going to come back.
No, but then it was like...
I'm joking.
So I spent a lot of time online. So I was online, and then I came across information about all these very different film funds that would support films by African filmmakers. But it's African filmmaker living and working in Africa. So anyway, I call up Don. Like, you know what? There's this and this and this and this, but don't worry about it. Let me put in the application. So I think that application was for script development. So I read the application, I put it in, and it's approved. It's like, $12,000. So $12,000 like for a script. I mean, Ugandan times.
That's quite something.
Because then like Don had just done divisions for like a fraction of that, which film had gone, places. So there was also like an option for like another 100,000 for, production. So once that, went through, I was like, okay, I think there's something in here. I just need to go back and follow up on this.
Yeah.
So you came back.
And actually, now I've like over the times, I've realized you've always been that guy who knows what's going on, and you've always shared that information. There's this festival. There's this company that funds people like you to do. I remember there's a time you applied for me in the Red Bull something.
Red Bull Music Academy.
I didn't know even what that was, and they were asking for a lot of paperwork, this bio. Like, Nathan is disturbing me with his things.
Benon doesn't like English and papers.
Paperwork, all over suka. But yeah, I mean, we as Africans, some of us lazy Africans, we missed out on a lot of those opportunities. And they've always been there. There's some,
Because, like,
I want to take you back. Sorry, before we get into that. Do you remember this guy? You know, I treasure these moments simply because, you know, life is so funny.
What concert is that?
I don't even know what concert that was, but this was in Guitar Center.
Guitar Center.
So he gave me a ride to Guitar Center to buy the equipment that I started with in songs. And it's so amazing how this world is very small, and how, you know, you cross paths with people, and, you know, maybe sometimes they don't even realize the impact that they've left on you, or, you know, like I'll always treasure these moments. And, you know, for me, just even the ride to Guitar Center, you know, okay, of course, right now I've bought a lot of equipment, yeah, but I don't think there will be any moment that will beat this moment. Yeah. You know, in Guitar Center, like they set up, the way they set up the equipment, like let's say they have a DJ section, you can go in there and play. So they have also studio and their setup, you can actually
play with the equipment.
Yeah, because I mean, like, the whole thing is set up, but then what they do is that, like, each piece of equipment has a price tag.
So it's like, you can see all these the
analog thing.
You know, so this man,
you have to take a tafari.
Yeah, but actually, like, that time, I don't know if you have that photo, we went and found a guy there actually who later became a big deal, some rapper from Ghana.
Yes.
I think it's called Manfest.
I have that picture.
We found him there.
And they were telling me, oh, there's a big artist from Ghana. Da, da, da. We took pictures, but they're like, okay,
and then later he blew up.
Yeah. And we didn't take his contact.
Oh my God.
Natty, those days, I don't think I was even on Facebook by then. I was on MySpace though. I don't think people know what MySpace is.
High five.
High five. Oh, this is the guy. This is the guy right here.
This guy?
Yeah. And these were like...
Yeah, it's called Manfest, but he became a big deal.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
You should
that was the first time I think we met.
You should send him that picture.
We stayed in touch. I remember you helped us release... in a professional way, release our very first Benon and Vampos collection, you know, put the music out there. We did some CDs, you know.
Because actually it's very funny.
Music was
no,
online,
it's actually very funny, and many people may not know this, but that CD there was actually probably the first Ugandan music on all these digital platforms. The iTunes.
Are you serious?
Yes. Yeah.
They're very fast.
Just kind of rock by.
Oh, to say.
And because I think that time there used to be what was that thing called? True African.
You Jeep.
No. First there was True African, which was kind of like, you know, I think the only way that you would get like
your music,
and then there was like,
but
but even like even on what on the Music Uganda they used to put, you know,
music. You worked for Music Uganda as well. You were a writer, Savage. I know you don't want us to get in there, but
no, I mean, it's some of those names that you come up. I mean, it's still my email address, nathan.savage@gmail.com. But then, you know, you come up with that because, I mean, you're an adolescent and, you know, and everything. And then, like, you know, everybody gets to know it, and then you can't change it anymore. But now you're a professional. Somebody's like, okay, what's up with this email address?
Okay.
What year did you come back here?
I came back in 2009.
What did you do?
When I came here?
Yeah.
So at first I thought, you know, I would just go into like, you know, music video production and everything. But that's a story. So it's like
Let's hear it.
it's like you have friends, you're very tight, you've grown up together and everything, and then you go away for a very long time. So when you're going away for a very long time, just the hassle of surviving in Kampala just changes people. I mean, it turns people who are like very honest people into people who are dishonest. But then I think on some level you can't blame them. They're just trying to survive. So for you are gone and maybe you're still the same person. You come back and all your friends have changed. But at that point you don't know. So you're still so trusting of them and and everything. And then, people knock you out of your life savings.
It must have been a
So you get to that point, and then you're like, okay, so what do I do? Do I go back, or do I stay? And I'm like, okay, if I go back, then coming back here has been a new beginning for me. So now, if I'm saying that I need to go back, then that's another new beginning for me. Like,
So it sounds like
stay.
you were trying to invest your money into certain things, but what was that? Was that in film? Was it in music? Was it in?
So it was
Like
just supposed to be like
what was on your mind?
It was just like in production, video production. Because I remember, like at some point, I hooked up with Jose.
Jose, mwababa omusajja.
Nedda. I won't them. So it was that I was like, okay, so I was like, I either go back or I stay. So when I decided to stay, it was lucky. I was lucky that I think at that point they had just started fireworks advertising, and the people said fireworks advertising came from ZK. So like there was a whole mass exodus of people from ZK to form fireworks. So there were openings in ZK. So Edris again calls me up. I'm like, okay, so no, of course for him was that mad. But like, okay, there's an opening here, and I think this is something that you can do. So I went there. They gave me an interview. So it was funny that they had already hired somebody there as a copywriter. So I come in, and I haven't worked as a copywriter before, but okay, I started already writing. So they give me the interview. I aced the interview, and then they hire me as the senior copywriter.
Ooh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so you already touched a bit of that. You worked a couple of years in, advertising. Naye, your heart was somewhere else.
Yeah.
Tell us about the transition.
Yes. So while I was writing the commercials, I wrote some very popular adverts that everybody would sing along. You would actually even see people doing printing T-shirts with some of the phrases. You find like Red Pepper is using some of the phrases as headlines in there. But then I knew that I kind of had a ceiling doing that. But then I knew that if I get into filmmaking, I think I can excel at continental level. But then I just knew that the key to getting there was education and training. So I decided that I was going to do every workshop, every lab, every training opportunity that I could come across that they would let me into. Because some of them you don't qualify. So I was like, I was going to do each and everything that they would let me into.
Being deliberate and intentional. Interesting.
So there was a moment in my life whereby maybe every 2 or 3 months I was on a plane going somewhere.
To attend a workshop, to attend a... Okay. And then...
Before you continue, I think there's something really powerful there. Most of the people who are, let's say, in the corporate world, or even people in the arts that we do, when they achieve a certain level of success, they relax. They get into this space where they think they're just going to be cheating like that for the rest of their lives. But I think it's very smart to continue looking for all the avenues to make yourself better, or to give yourself like an edge over all your peers, to be able to know things that
because like for me, the thing that I noticed at a certain point, I know that like say my colleagues, my peers, I can't tell you that I am better than this one at this, right? But I just knew that, okay, for me, my age was information.
Yeah.
You know that thing they say, like, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
That, you know what, the only thing that kind of gives me an edge over other people is just that.
I know certain things. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you transition from corporate into some kind of producing. Were they films?
Okay, so this is what happened. So I had been writing commercials, right?
Yeah.
But then there are some people, they know you write the commercials, but so when you work in an agency, your job is just to write the commercial, and then the agency has somebody who does, production. They'll look up the Swangs Avenues, and it's like, okay, Swangs Avenue, produce this for us. But then there are also people who don't know that that's how it happens. So they just know that, you are everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've been getting people who would be giving me like, gigs, do for us a corporate video here, do for us a commercial here. That's like, once in a while. So when I decided that this is what I wanted to do, there is a very prestigious producers program that I got into. I'd been trying for like 3 years, but each year I don't qualify because it's European, but then they have like a few slots, like maybe 6 slots for the rest of the world. But the rest of the world is USA, is Canada, and everything. So this one time, I eventually get in. So the whole course, the cost of the course, I think, was 6,700 euros, right? But then I was lucky; they've given me a scholarship for part of it. So I only have to pay 1,700, right? But 1,700 is still a lot of money. But then I also have to pay for my my tickets, flights each time I go.
Accommodation?
No, the accommodation is covered in that, whatever. So I take an advance. I take an advance from work. So when I take that advance, of course, when you're getting the advance, you're telling them I need it for ABC. But then I also need what? I also need visas. You need letter from employer. So like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do.
Your employer was okay with you leaving
So
the
they
country?
gave me the advance, right? But then I'm supposed to go 3 times. March, June, and October.
How long were you gone for?
I was supposed to go like for 7 days. But then it just so happened that I got, this is the kicker, that I got into 2 of those, at the same time. So when I go in March, it's like 2 weeks. I do one, I finish, I go to the other. So June is the same thing, right? So March is done. And then it comes to June. So the thing at work used to be that when you need to be away, you need to give advance notice of like a month, right? So I give my advance notice that on the, say, 2nd of March, I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
But now, when you're giving this advance, you haven't yet bought a ticket, right? So maybe somewhere like on the 14th of Feb, you're trying to buy a ticket. But then the day that you're trying to leave, there's no flight on that day. So I go back to boss. Yeah, you know that leave request that I put in? I need to change the dates.
Yeah.
Boss is like, no. I'm not changing. Yeah, but then I'm like, okay, you actually gave me money, that advance.
Yeah.
I'm still paying it for this purpose. So it only makes sense that, I utilize it. Yeah, like I know. So at that point, I was like, okay.
That's when they were like, do you want to be here? Or
Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, now this is the moment of reckoning. I need to do this because this is what my future is. So I get on the plane.
To be able to realize that, bro.
Yeah.
So I get on the plane and I go.
Sweet.
I come back, like, you left here without telling us. We don't know where you went. So you're fired.
With their advance, though.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, you are fired, but
you need to pay back.
give us a payment plan.
Hey.
Yeah, so I was like, do you know what? That is fine. Write me my letter.
Yeah.
Because that's the day that I came back.
Yeah.
But then they write you a letter, like according to section so and so of the Labor Act, you did this and this and this. But then I'm like, I don't know what the Labor Act says. Google Labor Act comes up. I read it. So I had been gone and had exceeded actually the days that I had asked for. But the days by which I exceeded it, my contract was saying that if you leave work without permission for more than 14 days, they give you a warning letter. Oh, no, they give you a suspension for 14 days. But my days were much less, and I had been fired. Right? So now I'm reading the what? I'm reading the Employment Act. And the Employment Act, the way it's set up is that if an employer gives you a contract and it says certain things that whatever contradict what the law, if those things are favorable to the employee, then the employment contract is what? Is the one that supersedes the act. So like, okay, my Employment Act says 14 days, you suspend me. These are less than 14 days,
And
you have fired me. Like, give me that letter. So soon as they gave me the letter, and they're like, okay, so now propose a payment whatever plan. So I was like, okay, there's not going to be a part where I pay you. I am going to sue you. And then whatever you're supposed to pay me, you deduct what.
So they were like, it's okay, you go.
No. So I leave and then... Yeah. So the thing is that actually, the labor court, they just established it. It's called the industrial court. So that wasn't a court which you go into it directly. So first you have to go to a labor officer. So there's labor officers at KCCA and then at the Ministry of Gender. So I went to the Ministry of Gender and of course they call them, come in and... So at that point, these were Bazungu bosses. But then in March when I returned, they had hired a Ugandan as a general manager. But then he wasn't somebody, because for him as a general manager, me, I'm a creative. My immediate boss is the creative director. So the other person, you see me in the office, me interaction really. So when they called him at, Ministry of Gender, he's the one who shows up. Right? And I was like, no, we're not going to pay him this, whatever. So now we have to go to what? Industrial court. So I saw the thing, it just seemed like, a slam dunk. I'm not even going to waste my money on what? Hiring a lawyer. This one I can. So I go to the court and they give me papers. So what I did is I went through them and then I called, what's the DJ? The DJ at Governor. Bob man. Like, man, so like, yeah, this is fine.
Why? Is he a lawyer?
Yeah, he's a lawyer.
Okay.
So I gave him 50K. I got my documents, I went and I filed them. So we keep coming to court, and it's that black guy. So after some time, I think he falls out with the guys, and they fire him. And then another court date comes up. And somehow, I think they called him and like, can you come? He's like, fine, I'll come. So he comes. So when in court, I was like, okay, so we are here. So it's Nathan Magoola versus TBA Limelight. Limelight has sent their general manager. Like, man, I'm not going to sit here and waste my time with a fraud. He's not the general manager of Limelight. So like, is it true?
Oh, so you knew that he's not.
Yeah, I mean, this industry is small. Like, is it true? It's like, yeah, so then what are you doing here? So I think when he went back to tell them, they were just like, okay, we will pay you. And
it was over. Just one loophole. But and then you paid them back.
No, of course, like whatever they had to pay me, they had to catch up of what.
But you see, I think 2 episodes before we had a lawyer here. Creatives really need to know. Because in our work, there is also the business part where we have to deal with other people. But you have to be well versed with the law. Okay, not well versed, but you have to be aware of where you can be cheated or how
I think
you can protect
this
yourself.
is the thing that I think it's just a question of reading. Because even these lawyers, they don't make things up. It's just things that they read. That, sometimes, because also like the lawyers, they don't know everything. That's why you find like, certain lawyers are kind of like specialized in one thing, that when you take him in a certain direction. So what happened in that case that my employer had a lawyer, right? But now this is a new court. He has also never been there.
Yeah.
So he also doesn't actually even know what the procedure of, filing the things there. So like, when you read. Yeah, so I think for them on their end, they kept going because they're like, okay, we have a lawyer. He doesn't have a lawyer. So
It should be easy.
Oh, they
my
thought it would
God.
be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Oh man.
There is
Okay, so you leave that world.
No, so when I left that, I was like, okay, because for a very long time I knew, like I said, information is all I feel is the power I have. So from that point, I knew that there are lots of, say, like residencies. So you find like, like the Germans, they kind of, because for them, they put a lot of importance to the arts. So they also have programs whereby they're like, okay, so you're a writer.
Not like Uganda.
Yeah, so they say like you're a writer, but then if you're busy working to kind of survive, then you're not writing. So they're like, okay, you know what? Why don't we just give you a room here for 1 month? We give you a room, we give you money for food, so you can just concentrate on doing whatever it is that you do. But then maybe at the end, we'll give you like 1,500 euros or 2,000 euros. So I knew, I knew about things like that. So I was doing a lot of that. So I know that, okay, every maybe couple months, I can go somewhere and they give me this much. So at that point, I was like, okay, I think I can survive on this.
And so you were writing?
So like I was like, okay, so maybe I don't have to go back into employment. But I remember like the first time that happened, Steve Jean calls me. It's like, I have somebody who was working here, client service. You know the client service person, but since you're working in agencies, you know what they do. You don't know it, but you know what they do. So I think you can come in here and help me out. No, at that point I refused. Like, okay, I don't think I want to do this.
You didn't want to
like,
be
okay.
employed.
So it's like, okay, whatever it is that you want to do, I know you can't do it without internet. You are into film and everything. I have equipment here, so come and work for me, and then you can have access to all that. Do your thing, and then, of course, I know I can't pay you like you are earning in the agency, but at least you know that at any one time while I'm waiting for my grants and everything, they're not whatever trying to kick me out of the house. So at that point, I think I refused, and then I went and I did 4 months at Fireworks, right? And then, and then he came back, because I think this was like October. This was like October of 2014, right? So that time I declined. And then he came back to me in May of 2015. So that time I was like, okay, all right, no problem, I'll come. But then in my head,
determined.
Yeah, so in my head I was like, okay, let me go do this like for a year, and then I leave. But then before I knew it, I was there until shortly before lockdown. So before I knew it, it's like
But what were you doing?
Well, at Benon. So I was the head of the video and the audio department.
Okay.
Yeah, but then also like when you have these clients who say I need a radio ad, they don't know that somebody has to write the radio ad first. So I would write the ads.
Okay.
So nobody knows. They don't know that somebody has to write a script for corporate video.
In other words, it was like a perfect fit for you. You had the passion of production, and then you were from advertising agency world, and then more like how More Roots was coming from an agency, and she was doing client service or something, and then she becomes
innovation.
She goes to UBL, and she's dealing with people at the agency, and you're more like the coin flipped.
Now she's dealing with the same people she was.
You
understand what I mean? But there is an article that I read that Edgar did on you.
Edgar Batten.
From Monitor. There's something that I've experienced in my life as a creative that I want you to touch on, where you had to use some of your money that you are making to kind of, you are putting it in your, I don't want to say side gig, but like in your passion. So you're employed, you make money, but then like you knew in your head at some point that's what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, and because okay, now for example, I need to go for a training. I need to buy a ticket. I need to pay for what? Accommodation. But then it's at that same point where like maybe a child wants something, your wife wants something, but like, you know what? You guys have to chill.
Yeah.
Right now, the most
Damn,
important
bro.
is like for me to make this trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I know, like, you know,
sacrifices.
for a very long time I deprived my family.
Not like going hungry, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah.
the luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, of course, like, you know, for the most part, I have to make sure the rent is paid.
Yes.
We have food in the house.
Yes.
The kids' school fees is paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some swimming, semenya. Netflix.
So how do you get into Prestige?
The juice.
From
So, what happened was that it must have been around 2018. I came across a program called the Tony Elumeru Entrepreneurship Program. It's a program run by a Nigerian billionaire called Tony Elumeru, the founder of the bank UBA.
How does he discover all these programs?
Yeah, so that program was that.
he already told us information is.
My God.
Yeah, so like that program was that every year, at first when it started, they'd look for 1,000 entrepreneurs, either with businesses that have started or with ideas, right? So they choose those people and train them for 12 weeks, right? But then this training was in such a way that you have weekly assignments, but those weekly assignments kind of constitute a section of a business plan, right? So I go through that program. Now, the thing is that I'd heard that about that program like 2 years before, but like the people from whom you hear it, they don't emphasize, because in that program they'd give you like seed funding of $5,000, right? But now the people from whom I had heard it, they would never really emphasize that part. So it's just oh, you know, training and everything. So this one time I'm reading, I think it was Red Paper. So I'm reading Red Paper. There was a girl that I knew. I'd gone to school with, in primary school, she has a couple of classes behind me. And she was talking about how she had started like a daycare center somewhere in in Kololo. That busy parents have kids who go to schools around that area, but then the school closes at 5. This person can't come from town to kind of make it at 1.
Problem solvers.
Yeah. So she was like, oh, let me start a center here where I can go pick these kids up from their schools, because actually some schools find you if you leave your kid after. So like I go and pick those kids there, I bring them here, I help them with their homework, you know, engage them in arts and crafts and everything. So I was reading about that, and she was like, I got my funding from Tony Elumeru. I'm like, oh. And this was like, I think 2 days to the deadline. I'm like, okay, this is something that I need to do. But then I think like for most part, like the way it is generally, that most people when they're coming up with ideas, most of our ideas in Africa are like agriculture, right? So for me, I said, okay, for me, I do film production. So my business plan was that I want to do features, but low budget features, but then I try and make sure that, you know, they have high production values. But for this to be sustainable, I need to do a couple of them a year. So my business plan was that I do 4 films of 10,000 each, right? So I'm approved. They give me 5,000 seed capital, right? But then I have a business plan that's ready. So I think from one of the WhatsApp groups of that program, I find out about some German ladies. They were starting a venture fund. I think it was for Uganda, Kenya, I think Rwanda, and some West African countries. But then for them, they were like, okay, we are supporting impact businesses to a tune of 50,000 euros or $50,000. But then they were like, we are going to give you a couple of interviews, but after the first interview, we are going to give you $500. That's your money, just for your time. So the first interviews, I think they were doing them somewhere like, what's that building called? Park Royal, somewhere like on Buganda Road.
I don't know.
Remember the building where Shadrach used to have his tattoo studio? but now
on
behind
Kampala
it.
Road.
Yeah, but now behind it, there is like an extension on Buganda Road. So I went there and I did the interview, and then they had like other interviews for, but they were online. So they were saying that for us, we are not investing in your whatever, in your business. We are investing in your potential to succeed. So the rest of the interviews were online,
sweet.
whatever, online personality tests.
Yeah.
So that took, I think, it took almost a year.
Hey.
So eventually, in October of 2019, they come back to me and like, okay, we are going to give you your what? Your 40,000. But first we are going to give you 20,000, and then we'll give you the 20,000 what? After a year. So that's October of 2019. So then I knew that, okay, now this is my time to leave and start on this, because then this money is not a grant. It's money that I have to pay back. But if you have somebody invests in your business and then you're doing it part-time, you'll never succeed.
No.
This is the time to do what? To go in what? Full-time. So I know that, okay, I give Steve notice that, I'm on my way out. So start getting somebody to what? To replace me. So January of 2020, I think there was a wedding like on 6th of January. They hadn't yet had a replacement. So like, okay, I know already I gave notice, but let me come and help out, take this out of there. So I do that. That was, I think, the last time that I worked there. So then I got money, but then I was like, okay, I don't think it's a good idea for me to put $10,000 in this one, feature film. So at that point, I was also like, no. I mean, I know that was my business plan.
Yeah,
but I think
you're second guessing yourself.
Yeah, I'm second guessing myself. So I was like, okay, I think now what I have to do is let me take this 10,000 and I use it as seed for several different things. Because in my experience, I told about the experience of before where I had gotten 12,000 for what? Script development. So I know that now if I have very good scripts, there are people who are going to do what? To pay for them. But now the thing is that I kind of write myself. So I know I have to write, but then I have to hire what?
Other writers.
No, script consultants. Like you write, you send in, they read, they
To
give you
edit or
feedback.
what?
Yeah. So they don't like really edit. What they do is that they read it and they tell you, this is the weakness, whatever.
Yeah.
But then I think this is
sense.
the idea. Then they're like, okay, I think this is something somebody can
You
pay
pay
for.
them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is that it's two ways. So there are lots of like labs and residencies, and then also like markets, development markets, where if you get into it, you'll get this service for free. But if you don't, then you have to figure
pay
out.
for it.
Yeah. So that's what I did. So then, I started working on Prestige, back and forth with script consultants. And then we get
Now
into
I
lockdown.
know why Prestige is about agencies and
So now
okay.
we get into lockdown. We're in lockdown, and then so the thing is that the people who license content, they license this content for several different screenings. But now the thing is that if say DSTV has licensed a film, it has licensed Mission Impossible, right? That Mission Impossible, maybe they'll play it twice or 3 times a day. But because in your normal life, you wake up in the morning, you come to work. So they play it in the morning when you're at work. They play it in the afternoon when you're at work. Then when you go home, they play it at 8 and then you can see it. But now we are under lockdown. So all we have to do is what? Just watch TV. And then suddenly people are realizing that this, the content that we are watching on TV is very repetitive. Right?
Yeah.
So, people say, like, I think the subscription is not worth it. But then, at the same time, I think now My Choice is trying to create new content.
Yeah,
so they put out a call.
That was one of the reasons, actually. I cancelled my subscription.
Yeah, so they put out a call, and, I responded to it. So they came back, they're like, okay, from all the proposals that we have received, yours seems like it's it. But then from the work samples that you sent us commercials, you sent us short films, and, and everything. There's no TV drama. So I'm like, okay, but I mean, if I can do all that, then I can do a TV drama. They're like, no, you have to do a pilot. But then at that point, I have like my money. I have my 20K. But then I'm like, okay, now what we are going through is unprecedented. And we don't know where we are going. We don't know when it's going to end. So I just feel like this is not the right time for me to be taking risks. to spend money on producing a pilot. I'm like, okay, but every business you have to take risks. Like, yeah, I know, but this is not the time, right? I want to do the pilot at a time when I know that I've set myself up in such a way that I know this money is for doing that, and then I have this to live on. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing the pilot. Like, okay, if you're not doing the pilot, then we are done. Like, okay, yeah, fine. So then, I get off the phone. 30 minutes later, I call back. But if we give you like a couple more days, can you think about it? But now those more days were ending on 3rd June, Mother's Day. But in the meantime, when I got off the phone, I walked to Matthew Nawiso's house because we used to live in the same neighborhood, so we'd go back and forth.
We need to get Nawiso on the show.
Yeah.
He was like, but maybe you should do this. So even if they don't take it, another person takes it.
Take
like, no, I'm like, okay, I have a camera here that is like my tafari. Yeah, but then the problem was that they needed it like in 2 weeks. But now you're kind of under lockdown. So like, I haven't cast, I haven't found locations, I haven't done
permissions to move.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Nabuiso by then was doing his productions, not necessarily Sanyu, but he was doing.
No, because that's around the time when he had gotten Sanyu. Yeah, but then before he had done, like, what? Because it was around the same time.
Oh, so for him, he got his before yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So then I was like, okay. But there was a role, and I was like, okay, because originally they were written it. They were supposed to be like, kissing and everything. Like, man, got these Ugandan actresses who are older. They can't do such things.
Yeah. And to make matters worse, it's COVID times.
Yeah, they can't do such things.
We are even touching is not allowed.
But I was like, but
No touching soft parts.
yeah, but I was like, Nana can't do this. Nana, where are you? I have this and this and this. They're like, oh yeah, well, let me first talk to my sister and I see. So it was this. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. I know, don't worry, I can. I've already been like casting people, so I know actors, so that won't be a problem. Let's do this. Yeah, and that's how it came to be.
Now
So you did the pilot.
Yeah.
They saw it.
Yeah, so
They loved it.
I said I'm going to do the pilot, but I can't do it in 2 weeks. Give me a month, right? So they're like, okay, go ahead. So I start working, and then, like every 1 or 2 days, they call. What's going on? Everything is approved. We are just waiting to make a decision, right? So we shoot and we finish, and then by end of June, we have a rough cut. But then we need an extra time, kind of like finalize.
Put everything together.
grade.
Yeah.
Music.
Yeah, grade, sound, no titles, no nothing. But I was like, you know what? Let me just submit this. So I submitted like at 6 p.m. The next day at 10, they call and they're like, okay, we are good to go. But you have to change this actor, change that actor, change that actor.
Can they do that? Or you're the director?
It's their money.
Oh, I see.
Duh.
Because ideally, the way it works is that at that point, only one episode is written, which is a pilot, right? So they are buying that idea.
The idea, okay, I get it.
So
Okay.
they are buying the idea, but they're like, since you are the one who created it, you are in a better position to produce it. So you produce it for us, we'll pay you this much for producing.
Okay.
Yeah, so then at that point, then I have to hire other writers with their money to carry it forward.
What else are you working on now that you're allowed to talk about?
So Prestige is ending.
Hey.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I have a new show that I hope is going to be in the time slot.
Okay.
So far you've done how many episodes? Was season 1 and how many episodes?
So originally when they put out the call, they asked for 60 episodes. So when they come back to me and they're like, we're going to do this, they're like, actually make it what? 100. Yeah, so I do the 100
That's
first
a lot of
season.
work.
Yeah, and then I do season 2, which was like 260.
Wow.
And then right now we are doing season 3, which is also 260. But out of that 260, tomorrow night, 180 will be on air. But we have shot 220.
Okay.
Wow.
Say within time.
And you've always delivered within your timeline.
At least in the last 3 years, there's not a time that people have tuned in there
And
in their
not-
homes and they found there was no episode of Prestige.
Because
How much?
out of my experience, when did we do Rolex? 2018,
18.
17.
We saw that thing in
Just-
COVID lockdown,
Ye-
no?
yeah,
We had done
yeah.
it like 7 years before.
18.
Was
2
it
years before.
a year before? It's what, 17 minutes? But that thing, I give you guys credit. You know,
How long
are
does
you
it take
able
you to shoot an episode?
So the thing is that we don't shoot in sequence, right? So we have 4, 5 locations, right?
Scenes, yeah.
No, locations.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is that if we have this place as a location, you're going to get episode 1 to episode 6, right? And pick out all the scenes
In
that
that
happen
location.
here.
In that
So we come and shoot here.
you have to
So
be-
you shoot one scene from episode 1, and then the actor changes costumes. You shoot another scene from episode 2, they
At
change.
that location.
Yeah, and then you leave. The next day you go to what? To another. So our scripts, depending on the writer, they are usually 12 to 22 scenes on average, right? But now we go to a point whereby we're not delivering. So what we did was we decided to start shooting what? 2 units. So you have 1 unit shooting in this location, another unit shooting in what? In another location. But then those units, on average, they shoot 11 to 15 scenes a day. So then we are shooting maybe 24 to 30 scenes a day.
Wow.
But because there are some episodes that are 11 scenes, so you know that 11 scenes is an episode.
You
Yeah.
have to go through all that footage as a director.
No, because me, I'm a producer, so I don't go through the footage. So what happens is that before, I would even go and sit in the edit after,
Yeah.
And, here. And then we send to the commissioning editor in Nairobi. She also kind of gives, their feedback, and then with that feedback, we come back and finish.
You go to the actual shoots?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But these days, I'm not there a lot because now, most parts, to kind of be like a producer, even just a director, most people come from different backgrounds. So you see, like some people, he was originally a writer, but is now a producer or a director. So now, for me, my emphasis is more on the what? On the writing part. So what happens is that I have to be in the writer's room with what? With the writers.
With the writers.
So we sit there and we come up with ideas. But like one of the reasons I have to be there is to kind of keep the writers in line. So like, somebody can come up with a story idea. Yes, brilliant and everything, but it really doesn't relate to this, what we are doing here. It's good, but it's a whole different, a whole different show. But then also it's for me to kind of know that I have to keep those writers within certain limits. That I don't want to kind of be there and then a location person is calling me and is saying, okay, now producer, how are we going to procure the airport? Because there's a scene here at the airport. So I have to be in that room to just make sure that nobody is writing for me a scene at the airport.
I know writers,
nobody's writing.
writers can dream.
Yeah.
And then this guy, he goes and,
He jumps out of the plane.
I make sure nobody's writing for me like, okay, so they go and see a certain major in the barracks. Like, okay.
No.
Hello, calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think after shooting all that material, the guys get a hang of it. Like, you don't even have to be there. But like
because for me that moment came during COVID, because at a certain point I got sick and I couldn't go on set like for a month. But then everything was working like clockwork. So
that's very good.
Okay. So in total, how many episodes today from inception?
like on air, so 178 plus 100, that's 277.
270.
277 plus 260.
That's a lot of
That's a lot of
material.
man hours, people editing,
Yeah,
sound,
editing, grading,
music,
sound.
people acting, people going through their lines.
And because
Sleepless nights.
apart from say like the daytime soaps like in America that are kind of like every day. But then like your average shows, actually you can think of, your favorite Hollywood show, and then you know that they don't even get to 100. Their entire run.
No, they don't.
Like, and this is
That's
like
what I'm
years.
saying. Because most of the series maybe we watch are like how many episodes? Like 30 maybe, 24 or like.
And that is like over several years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. How have you been able to maintain that, to make sure you beat the deadlines, to make sure production is still going on, nobody's over budget,
So I think the thing is that like we are, as creative people, we tend to think that creativity is everything, right? But like from my experience doing this, I realized that it's not about creativity. I mean, creativity is important, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is project management skills.
kaddemu ako ngenda kusaba okaddemu kubanga that's where we fail a lot of us.
Yeah, it's project management.
Yeah.
That you could have the best show, right? But if that show is supposed to be on air today and you don't deliver it to the broadcaster
There is someone I know who works here.
Arthur and Derek.
If he had that, he would give you money.
Yeah.
But he's not.
We're going to cut out this part.
He's not here today.
Yeah, like it doesn't mean anything if you can't deliver it on time.
Oh my God, that's
but
so
I think
important.
that is
project
a skill.
management.
Yeah, but I think that is something that I kind of picked up in the last 5 years. I was working at Benon. Yeah, because I was like autonomous. Everything starts and ends with me, right? So my job is to make sure I don't lose clients.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that every client we get, they are satisfied, get good work in time, so they keep being clients. Yeah. So like over time. That's what I was doing. So I just feel like that is the most important thing that I got out of the time I spent at Benon.
But also, isn't life weird in a way that, you go through all these things, all these dots, like Stephen Jobs likes to call them. And because now, where you are right now, if you look back, even through the agency world, you being in the US, you realize that there's so many small threads that are helping you with what you're doing right now. And, the fact that you're doing what you love, you're comfortable, you call the shots. But all these small things, contribute to... Life is so interesting.
Cultures, like when that white woman fired you, I think from that day you knew that keeping time is a very important thing. Stuff like that.
Regardless of, I think at that point you were their best.
Yeah, camera
person.
They're like, no,
but
if you cannot.
No.
Yeah, because I mean, even the experience in the agency that I was working in agencies where we were working on telecoms. There was a point whereby there was what they call the telecom war, right? So whereby like these telecoms kind of had, I would call them spies in media houses, So like say for example, MTN books an ad to run in the papers tomorrow, right? And then somebody there calls people at Airtel, man, these guys have a new campaign. They booked an ad. And then those guys, Airtel has to come up with something like real quick, right? Yeah, and so like, from that experience that, the way your clients work is that they booked a certain day, that's when the campaign is supposed to start. You have to do whatever happens.
Stories. Yeah.
So can you please, I know we're about to end, but like advise, what words of wisdom can you give for people who want to, not just in the film, but generally in arts, to achieve their goal?
Okay, like I've told some people this before, that the people in the arts, they kind of feel like they're different from everybody else, right? But they are not.
Busting our bubble.
No, like I put it in the sense that okay, for you want to make your money from running a record label, right? That record label business is not any different from, say, somebody who wants to sell milk, packaged milk. The only difference is the actual product, but everything around it as a business is the same. And because I had that mentality, that is why I was able to go into the Tony Elmelu entrepreneurship program.
Yeah.
Because the way it looks on the surface, you don't feel like it's something for the arts, right?
It's business.
You don't feel it's something for the arts.
Yeah.
And so you hear so many programs that maybe the government comes up with. This is a program to help unemployed youth and everything. But yet, like, if you have that in your mind, you know that's also a program you can go for.
Yeah.
But on the most part, we just think, oh, these are people who are into agriculture.
Right.
So when you have that mentality, then you also know that every business runs on paperwork. Every business runs on presentations, right? There's nowhere you're going to get a meaningful amount of money, sum of money, without either writing a proposal or doing a presentation. Sometimes
To
both
convince them to give you that money.
It's a boardroom. War
And
kind
so,
of situation.
even for people in the arts, those are skills that
They need.
you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I also
Hello.
No, that's very, very important.
and also the thing is that of course nobody knows everything. So if you can't do presentations, you can't write proposals, then look for money to pay someone to do that for you.
Okay.
But at any one point, you're going to encounter that.
Because most of us creatives believe that I just have to be good at what I do, and one time someone will discover me, and they'll give me a lot of
and
money.
then they change my life.
Yeah, and then I'll be rich, you know. But also, like, one of the other things that I've picked up from our conversation today is your discipline. You know, like in music, like let's say an artist gets signed and they give you $1 million. So that's your, the first thing you go and buy cars and then blah, 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 blah. Then later you fail to deliver on your end of the deal. So I'm hearing all these things where people give you $10,000, $20,000. But remember, we are in COVID, you're like, can't we just eat this? But the discipline to know that that money has it's what it's supposed to do, so don't touch it, even if we suffer.
No, because they gave me 20,000. They're like, a year later we'll give you the what?
Yeah,
the other 20. But then it got to a year later whereby I didn't even need that money anymore.
The other 20,000.
Yeah, but then also they were like, the arrangement is that we are buying 10% of your company for this much, but you kind of have to buy back those shares at a rate of 2.5.
Which is still okay.
Yeah, so the thing is that they're giving you 20,000. So they're giving you 25,000, but then they are saying you have to pay back at a rate of 2.5%, meaning you have to pay back 50,000. You've taken 20, but you have to pay back 50,000. But then the beauty is that they're not saying make monthly payments. They're saying that every quarter, give us whatever, give us 5%, right? So then, but then they come back to me, and they're like, if you're able to pay back this money within 3 years from when we gave it to you, then you actually have to do what? Pay back at 1.5.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, so I've given you 20.
Much less. Yeah.
In 3 years, pay back 30. Yeah, so like, okay, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
Here is your money. So I was actually the first exit.
What?
Wow.
Out of, I think, like 20 people from around Africa.
Yeah.
So Uganda, we still have a clean slate. We can
Someone
go
else.
and get some money.
Yeah, because I mean, they just need another whatever. Because they actually came back to me, like, okay, do you still need money? I'm like, okay.
But
Like,
Nathan, I
Chimana.
have to tell you right now that you guys have changed the game. I want to appreciate you.
Yeah.
I want to give you your flowers now because I do watch Pearl Magic Prime. By the way, guess who did the sound for Pearl Magic Prime?
Hey.
But that's
Pearl Magic Prime.
That's a
No, because
story
I
for
don't know.
another
Because
day.
this is the thing that in my research for what I do, like, okay, these people have this channel, that channel, that channel, they're all over Africa, right? Then I go to the website, okay, in Kenya, what shows do they have? What kind of whatever?
Research.
Yeah, research.
Yeah.
But then it's funny how, like, out of all the channels they have, even they have like Muzanzi Magic, whatever. But when you look at the branding of Pearl Magic Prime, it just looks and sounds so premium.
Yeah.
Better than everything
Bro,
else.
Yes.
Pearl Magic
Yes.
Prime
Yes.
is like, but even like I was still saying how I'm giving them a flow. Like the content is good.
Very,
like
very
it's
good.
okay.
The acting.
Yeah, I don't want to discredit the guys who were there before, like you know, but like you don't get that cringe anymore. Like, how are you Ugandans? It's like it's real. It's entertaining. It's
The sound.
The sound
good.
is it's impressive.
Yeah.
To say the least.
You know, for a long time, as Ugandans, we're not used to seeing
Nice
great
Ugandans.
things
Yeah.
from Uganda.
Yeah.
Osegera. Like we have that saying, biringabi abazungu.
Yeah.
Osegera. Yeah. You guys.
Yeah. No. Seriously.
But by the way,
And because we know it is not easy, we know how difficult it
Yeah.
is, and in a way, it is going to help and inspire other young directors. Because I know right now there's, I don't think we have enough editors. I don't think we have enough gaffers.
Yeah.
You know.
no, and actually,
sound
that's something
people.
that what people don't realize. I remember, so you have like these embassies here. So many times, different embassies put on their own film festivals.
Yes.
And then sometimes they kind of like combine us, like the European
Yeah.
Union,
Yeah.
Uganda Film Festival. So I remember one time there was one, and I was on a panel discussion. And then, you know, they're asking me, so, you know, we feel like maybe in a way we would be able to kind of help you guys, but we don't know what your problems are. So I said that, you know what, we don't have talent both behind and in front of the camera. I remember Eleanor was like, no, we have people. We have like now we have good cinematographers, Isaac Ekuka and everything. But then I was like, okay, you feel like you have them. Because if you, Benon and myself were producers, we don't do things at the same time.
Yeah.
So I want to do something on Monday. I take Isaac. He's available Tuesday.
Then the whole
you take
country
him.
does it.
You know, he's available. You take him on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So you feel like he's available, but now you need him at the same time,
Yeah.
and then for extended periods of time.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize that, okay,
5 days a week.
yeah. So that's why you find that, you know, when you're
We
watching
don't.
that channel, you'll see different
Yeah.
actors in different shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you know, there's just not enough for everybody to kind of have their own.
I figured that's now one of the main challenges. I remember the Nigerians had taken Isaac for like a month, and we had a big job, and the client was like, either you're giving me a DOP from South Africa or Isaac. Like, okay, we have to wait because I can get you a DOP from South Africa, but your budget's
It's expensive.
so we had to wait. So how do you think we, moving forward, how are we going to mitigate this problem?
Because the thing is that by kind of increasing the capacity of the industry by training other people, but I think also the training aspect also comes from like the vision bearers knowing exactly what they want, right? And so remember earlier I was telling you that I was considering coming here to study in your academy, right?
And we were like, sure.
Yeah, because I feel like there is a gap in audio post-production,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I know the things that I want, but sometimes it's very difficult for
To
me
explain.
to communicate these things to what? To other people. That's so I need to do that myself.
Can I ask if you have some of those days that you know, okay, you're not going to be shooting very complicated scenes, and we probably give an experience to some of our students.
No,
Yeah.
You just
I'll come,
and-
I'll come, and because I take pleasure in this, that I respect
not
the
you just coming to the class, but giving them an experience to.
That's what
come
he's-
to
no,
your
that's what
no,
he's
that's what
saying.
I'm saying.
That's
That, you
what
know,
he's saying,
I
yeah.
take pleasure in that. That
I'm sharing that info.
I know that I've gotten to where I've gotten because I've been lucky and people have taken chances on me. That are many of these trainings that I've done, I've gotten scholarships from French government, German government. You know, people who are actually not even concerned about what I do. So like, okay, I've been able to get this opportunity, but that's not an opportunity that many of my fellow Ugandans will get. So since I've gotten it, I need to kind of pay it forward. So from time to time we let people come, because I remember the other, I think in June, the American embassy had brought a guy to do like cinematography workshops, and then they needed to do like a masterclass on set. So we had 40 kids on set. So yeah,
No, but I think the film industry in Uganda has taken a huge leap. I'm really excited about the future. I think it's opening up, and it's all even the money itself. Actors are paid
But also
better.
for me, what I find very interesting, a lot of young kids with brilliant ideas, they are fearless. They they're thinking,
fearless. Yeah.
Their thinking has no ceiling, which is a good thing,
Yeah.
because some of us, echo chizibu, echo doso.
The older you become, the more careful you are. Like, don't. But Nathan, one of the things, besides their thinking being, ruthless or whatever you want to call it, the opportunities. I need for people to know that the opportunities out there are endless. Like you do research, you're going to find someone who is eager to put money into your picture drawing. I don't know what they call your art, or your music production, or your film production. Like those avenues are out. Because from what you've said, like you've mentioned, so many doors that you
because
knocked on.
there are people or there are entities, there are even governments, which kind of feel like art is just generally good for humanity.
Yes.
That somebody will be able to fund it even if they're not benefiting from it directly. They're just like, the world is a better place with this existing.
Yeah, I think just for people to be intentional on looking out for those opportunities.
Yeah, but then you also kind of have to be willing to put in the work.
Yes.
Like I said, there are lots of brilliant people, but tell them write a proposal. Like it doesn't matter if they're supposed to get $1 million once they write the proposal. Like, okay, I'm done.
Nathan, in your opinion, I sort of I know for us, we are excited, we are saying, things are looking good. But from your lens, what do you think we are looking like? What's the status quo of not just the art world, but especially the film world? There's this whole talk, there's Netflix, there's Prime, there's DSTV, I just want to have a clear picture. How is
this
it
is the
looking
thing.
like?
Because,
are we in a good place?
Because this is the thing that I think that kind of relates back to something that Viboya asked me earlier. And I was saying that I've met so many people from around the world, and people who are like big time people. Because some of those trainings that I did those trainings with, every time there's the Oscars, guys who are getting nominated for, best foreign Oscars, what, such people, right? And for a very long time, I've had people say, Ugandans have very good stories, right? We have the good stories, but then our problem is how to actually write those stories, right? So I just feel like there's plenty of opportunities. We kind of just need to up the writing. Yeah.
So you say So you say that maybe the acting is better than the writing?
Yeah. The writing is a huge problem.
Okay.
And then what we have to realize is that is what I say.
The foundation?
Yeah, it's the foundation. Nothing else happens
Unless the script is tight.
So there's not going to be a film for somebody to direct. There's not going to be for a film for somebody to act in if there's no good script. No script. So the thing is that I think from now we are kind of going along that way that, for a very long time we've been used to, you look for your money, or you look for your friends, they help you. You do something, right? But that's not how the world works.
Yeah.
The world works is that there are gatekeepers. There are people who kind of have to approve things, and then you know they fund. That's how you play on a what? On a higher level. This or my money or whatever, at this point. So you have to realize that that's where the world is going. So you have to have the skills to impress people at that level.
Wow. There's a question I was going to ask, but I think you've just answered it. Well, I'm part of 256, Film 256, and sometimes wabera okudwali on the group. But there's a time, I think like 3-4 years ago, there was that whole talk, guys, we need to do something. Let's work together. Because there are a lot of amazing, talented people in different areas.
Because I think the cream of Uganda is all there. Like, you need the best cinematographer is on there. You need the best sound person on
everybody. So the question that had popped in my head was like, why do you think around that time, like we failed to do a project? But I think partly is because maybe if that project came into fruition, it would have just been a passion project. I like how you phrased it that, I think we need to be intentional. If we put money together, basically it should be
structured.
Professionally structured.
Yeah.
No, there's that, but then I also think that the problem with so many things is a leadership thing. That on the surface, you don't realize the importance of leadership, right? So there's so many entities where you feel like the people who actually do the job are the most important. And you don't, in your mind, you can't visualize why, say, a CEO who sits in their office in SC should get millions and millions, right? But then once you go back to understanding that leadership is what
makes things happen.
That's when you kind of come to that appreciation.
I think Nathan and Julius are going to become very good friends.
They need to hang out.
And so like that Film 256 project didn't happen because there was a leadership. And like you have a group of people who each own their own production houses. Each one of them is the boss there. So now when they are coming together, they kind of think,
bosses.
So even everybody thinks that they're equals. But then when there's no leadership, decisions are not being made. So nothing is happening. No, at that point we need to kind of have like, okay, we are all bosses, but this is the person
who says this is what we're going to do, and let
Oh, so 256 members. I think that's what we need to do.
And so it's a leadership thing. And it's also the thing that I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's why certain things happen and certain things don't happen. Yeah, because of the leadership,
project management,
are decisions being made or not? Because once decisions are not being made, nothing happens. So, and the decisions being made, are they good or not?
Nathan, this has been very informative for me. Very,
and very, very engaging. Very.
Very enlightening.
Abacha struggling. In your field. That's what I meant. One last question before we go. Do you personally in your life you think there's good balance? And with balance I mean your work and family and your social life.
Yeah, to me, I feel like, I mean, on the surface, it seems like it's hectic. I do a lot of work. But I think I've gotten to the part where basically the dream that I wanted. So I remember one time I decided that, if I was going to have kids, I wanted to be like a very involved parent, right? So I got to another point where I realized that, okay, for me, the ideal situation would be a situation whereby I'm able to take my kids to school and pick them up from school, right? So now I find myself in a situation whereby, okay, my daughter leaves school at 3. I find the time to go at 3 and pick her up. Yeah,
when you can.
No. Like.
Hey. Wow. You made a commitment.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, because I realized that, like, when you're home, you can be with your kids and you're talking, but I mean, there's so many distractions in the house. So there's, I don't know how to put it, like that closeness. I know that on that commute to and from school, she's able to tell me things she can't tell me at home.
Wow.
Not because she didn't want to, but she's distracted.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the concentration, the engagement. Yeah.
Interesting. Actually, my big brother also insists on taking his kids to school and picking them up. He says that time is very valuable.
Yeah, so now I got that and I couldn't be happier.
Well, it's been Nathan.
I want to do a trivial thing with Nathan, but you have to give very direct answers.
Okay.
One word, you make one choice.
Okay.
Movies or series?
Series.
Writing or acting?
Writing.
US or Uganda?
Uganda.
Thank you very much, Nathan. Thank you very much. Everybody give it up for Nathan Magoola. Appreciate that, bro. That was very, Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, man.
That thing is why I came here. I watched like previous episodes and like that. Like I need to be on there. That sound.